The Corinthian church was a church that had many problems. They had come a long way, but there were still many in the church that needed to be rebuked. And Paul had to rebuke them before, so he didn't want to make another painful visit to them. He wanted to come and rejoice with them, but he would make that painful visit to them for the sake of their faith. So Paul had a choice to make. Would he visit the Corinthians again really soon to rebuke them, and then again on his way back to Judea to rejoice with them? Or would Paul simply write a letter now and visit later? In deciding to write a letter to them instead of visiting them now, it appears as though Paul had changed his mind regarding what he wanted to do. Some accused Paul of not being able to make a simple decision. Others accused Paul of saying that he would do one thing and then doing another. So Paul wanted to make it clear that he wasn't wavering in his decision. But what in the world is all this yes, yes, no, no stuff? Paul believed in a God who is faithful to his promises. And if God is faithful to his promises, shouldn't we be faithful to ours? Christ is the affirmative answer to all of God's promises. God promised Adam and Eve that their offspring would crush Satan. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, and that all of the world would be blessed through him. God's promise that he would never leave us or forsake us. God's promise to us that we will go to be with him when this life is over. Christ is the fulfillment of all of these promises, and we want to be faithful to our word, just as God is faithful to his promises through Christ. So in deciding what he would do in visiting the Corinthians, Paul wasn't wavering in this decision. He was seeking God's will and striving to be faithful with the time that God had given him. He was telling the Corinthians, I wanted to come and see you now so that I can rebuke those still in sin, so that we'll all be on the same page when I come and see you again afterward, and so that I can have a visit with you of pure joy, not hindered by anybody's sin or hardness of heart. But God directed Paul not to make that first visit to them. So even though Paul wanted to make that first visit, God had other plans for Paul, and God's plans should always take priority over our plans. Has God ever changed your plans? Sometimes we think we know exactly what we should do and when, but sometimes God has different plans in mind for us. We need to recognize that God is our master, and we should allow the Holy Spirit to guide us every moment of our lives. God bless you, and see you tomorrow.